Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the video. In part 1 of the video, we were working with divisors that divided evenly into our trinomials, so it ended up being factors, and we didn't have remainders. But now let's look at what happens when we do have remainders. So when we start with number 5, we've got 4x plus 5, and it's being divided by x plus 1. So again, we're just going to focus on this first box. 4x divided by x is 4. And then we're going to see if our puzzle works. So 4 times x is 4x, but 4 times 1 is not 5. So what we do is we just multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. And we subtract it. So 5 minus 4 is 1, so our remainder is 1. So our answer, I'll write it in blue, is 4 plus 1 over our divisor of x plus 1. And that's how we deal with a remainder. So let's look at number 6. Again, we don't know how it's going to work out. We just know that we need to divide 2y squared plus 3y minus 40. And we're dividing it by y plus 5. So I'm going to start by focusing on this top corner, and I know that my first part has to be 2y, because 2y squared divided by y gives me 2y. And then I'm going to multiply to fill in the start of our diagonal. So 2y times 5 gives me 10y. And what I need to do is figure out the other number that when I add it to 10y gets me to my middle term of 3y. So I know I'm adding a negative 7y. And because this is division, I'm not factoring, I'm doing division, so I'm going to take negative 7y and divide it by y to get my outside. So negative 7y divided by y gives me negative 7. But when I check my puzzle, everything works here because this was all division, but when I look at 5 times negative 7, it doesn't give me negative 40, so it doesn't work. So what I do is I multiply. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35, and I'm subtracting that. So a minus negative becomes a plus, so we'll just change those to pluses. Negative 40 plus 35 is negative 5. That's my remainder. So my answer to this is 2y minus 7 plus my remainder of negative 5 over my divisor, y plus 5. And that guy is my answer. Well, let's look at number 7, because number 7 is actually a trinomial divided by a trinomial. So I can go ahead and just say 7x squared plus 3x minus 4. Go ahead and put that in my box. And then I'm dividing this thing by x squared minus x plus 5. So again, I'm just going to focus on this first box. 7x squared divided by x squared has to be a 7. But when I start trying to multiply to see if the rest of the puzzle works, it doesn't. Works for the first box. These guys, it doesn't. So I'm going to do the same thing I did in number 6. I'm going to multiply my 7 times each one of these and bring them down. So 7 times negative x gives me negative 7x. And 7 times 5 gives me plus 35. And now I'm going to subtract these. I'm going to put a minus here, and just like we do in class, if I've got a negative, I'm going to have to distribute and change the sign of both of these guys. So negative times negative, we're going to make those guys both positive, and negative times positive, this guy becomes a negative. And now let's just bring it down. So 3x plus 7x is 10x. Negative 4 plus negative 35 is negative 39. So my answer to this thing is 7 plus my remainder of 10x minus 39 over my divisor, which was x squared minus x plus 5. So when it asks, is this a factor, we can say no, had a remainder. If it has a remainder, it's not a factor. Okay, the very last one that we are going to do is we are going to work on number 7. So number 7 doesn't have all three terms. It's missing its middle term. So our middle term we know is going to have to be a 0b. So our factors are going to have to add up to a 0. So 4b squared and negative 3 and b minus 1 up on top. So I know this has to be a 4b. And I multiply 4b times negative 1 and I get negative 4b. And I just need to know what can I combine with negative 4b that'll get me to 0. Well, that has to be positive 4b. So positive 4b, now I'm dividing. Positive 4b divided by b is positive 4. And now I just have to see if my puzzle works. And I can look right here and go, ooh, look, 4 times negative 1 is not negative 3. So I multiply it. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And I'm going to subtract negative 4, which is the same as adding it. So negative 3 plus 4 is 1. So my answer to this thing is going to be 4b plus 4 plus our remainder of 1 over the divisor, b minus 1. And when they ask, is this a factor? The answer is no, because we had a remainder.